We are here today because the Supreme Court is playing out of bounds of the ethics rules for federal judges. Justices read the ethics rules in unique and eccentric ways, and when they're caught out of bounds, they refuse to allow any investigation of the facts. The personal hospitality problems I've been pursuing began with Justice Scalia, who took more than 7 dozen undisclosed hunting vacations. Most people know of 2, the one where he was on the Air Force Two manifest with Dick Cheney, and the one where he died. There were 70 plus more. It was systematized. Some intermediary would ask the owner of an expensive resort, often a commercial property, to extend to Scalia a personal invitation to the resort. Even where the owner was someone he'd never met, Scalia treated as personal hospitality because of the personal invitation and failed to disclose the vacations. Gun industry advocates, fossil fuel folks, and Republican political figures often tagged along. No reasonable reading of the term personal hospitality would cover this, but the Supreme Court let this go on for years. When I challenged the court about this practice, Exhibit 1, I got a blow-off letter. Exhibit 2. Basically, nothing to see here. So then I asked the circuit courts what they thought about this conduct. I went 0 for 13 on answers. Oh, that would be Exhibit 3. I went 0 for 13 on answers, so I then sent another letter saying I hope their silence didn't indicate some kind of coordinated obstruction. Exhibit 4. I also scheduled a subcommittee hearing. Presto, I was told the Financial Disclosure Committee would examine how the exemption was interpreted. That's Exhibit 5. Almost a year later, 2 weeks before the recent news about Justice Thomas broke, the Judicial Conference updated its guidance to clarify that this sort of non-disclosure violates the law, Exhibit 6. I have no evidence that any federal judge outside the Supreme Court ever used the personal invitation trick, and the Judicial Conference, made up of other judges, firmly shut it down. Regular judges would be loath to use that trick because a complaint about it would go into a proper process and would be investigated and measured against the law and the ethics code, and a conclusion would be reached, and that conclusion could be embarrassing. Only Supreme Court justices refuse to allow their conduct to be investigated or reviewed. My bill would fix that. Here's an example of the no investigations problem. The key fact to determine whether Justice Thomas was bound by law to recuse himself from the first January 6th committee case was what he knew about his wife's insurrection activities and when he knew it. On that fact, the lawfulness of his initial recusal decision turns. Yet Thomas has never been officially asked that question. It's a cover-up in plain view.
If we go down this road, how much will your utility bill go up? How much gas prices will go up? We need to actually talk more honestly about that.
If we spend $50 trillion, or however much it takes, to make the United States carbon neutral by 2050, how much will it lower world temperatures?
Senator, that depends on the rest of the world.
Do you
to create harmonized incentives to reduce
Do you believe
emissions.
in the tooth fairy?
No, sir.
Do you believe in the Easter Bunny?
No, sir.
Do you believe that Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes?
Almost exactly 5 years ago, I sent around this binder to all of my Senate colleagues, in which I compiled some of the most compelling warnings about the economic risks associated with climate change. Last week, I sent your staffs an updated version of the binder. Here it is. As you can see, the warnings keep piling up. Have fun with the light reading. Look at our national debt. One thing that stands out is how much of it was incurred as a result of exogenous shocks to the economy. Consider the 2008 financial crisis, which blew up the financial security of families and businesses across the country and reduced government revenues for a decade. Deloitte predicts the differential between being responsible and reckless about climate could sum to more than $220 trillion globally between now and 2070. Some of these warned of risks are already upon us. Already, climate-related natural disasters increase federal spending on disaster assistance, flood insurance, crop insurance, and other programs we fund. But this is just the beginning. It will certainly get worse, much worse, particularly if warming exceeds 1.5 degrees. We are on a bad trajectory. It's time for us all to wake up and face the problem before coastal cities flood with water or Southwest cities can't get water. I hope we can fend that off with action if we snap into focus on the danger. We need to head off climate change at the oil spigot. That means taking on the fossil fuel industry's increasingly desperate lies and its well-funded political juggernaut that does such evil in this building. We know how to solve this problem. We just don't do it because fossil fuel fingers creep through so many corners of the Capitol. In the time it took me to deliver this speech, around 6,000 Hiroshima bombs of excess heat energy were put into our oceans. Every day, it's getting worse. We completely underestimate how bad things are going to get. Completely. Even people who care about climate change and believe that it's real and aren't in tow to the fossil fuel industry and its dark money, they still completely underestimate how bad this is going to get.